the cashless policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria that is in focus this morning here on Sunrise Daily. We're joined this morning by Pascal Odibo, who is an economist. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, yeah, cashless policy, migration from this cash-based economy to electronic channels. Basically what it's about, with different limits. Maybe this is the latest one we see now. 500,000 naira for individuals, 3 million naira for corporate bodies has been moved severally from different limits to this one. Maybe, you never know if you'll expect a whole lot of others. But we've seen a whole lot of people who suggest that these kinds of decisions are usually driven by competition and not by fact. But what we see here is different. Even in those developed economies, it wasn't by fact, but that's what we see going on here. How come?
Just slightly by slight correction. I'm a business consultant, I'm a financial consultant.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, let me put it this way. We need to look at what Nigeria is trying to become. If you remember the days of Soludo and Obasanjo, it was clear that there was a particular path that they wanted to chart, and that resulted in governments coming up with various concepts as to how to leverage the system up to a level where it can play at the global stage. Of course, you know about the government mantra of 2020. We want to become one of the best 20 economies by the year 2020. Now that snowballed. CBN, built on that and set up what they call the FSS 2020. The FSS 2020 is called the Financial System Stability 2020, which is some major big thing when Soludo was there, and I'm sure the new CBN governor is also trying to build on that. And where they said that they wanted Nigeria to be a major hub for international business in Africa. And so most of this is a very strategic thing. So what is really happening is that CBN is trying to test, as it were, the financial hubs of Nigeria to see how much they can be able to absorb adapt to becoming a hub in an economy, in African economy.
So it justifies it by fact.
So what? Going back to your question, when the economy is very cash based, it is described as very primitive. Very primitive. You will really never ever do any major. You can't play at the global stage. So the fiat you are noticing, what you are seeing as fiat, it's not really fiat. It's like this system is in a hurry to become a major hub.
Yeah, but you're compelling them to do it.
In everything I keep saying, you have to look at the corporate strategy, the global government strategy. What does government want to do? What is it trying to achieve?
Yeah, but is this the only way to achieve
it? I'm coming. The people, let me give you an instance. If you want to move your business from one level to the other, you need to recalibrate the business to re-engage it. And that means that you need to put a couple of infrastructure and up the capacity of the people. Now, you cannot, because people don't. And by the way, when we all travel abroad, we don't carry cash. I remember the first time I went.
That's a different scenario. Yes, it works that way elsewhere. But what we're trying to say here, because you say they have to put in place some infrastructure.
Yep.
We'll come to that also and compare what we have on ground at the moment to justify this one. But when the ATM machines were brought in, everybody had to tell them to do it. It's supposed to be as an incentive to lure persons or customers to come to the institution and say, well, we are safer with your funds. We take away all of that risk. But supposed to, when you compel them to do it, and when you compel people to do this kind of things, or markets to do it, you take for granted so many other things because infrastructure is not in place.
I don't agree with you. There are a couple. I do not doubt there are challenges in terms of infrastructure to drive this policy through. But I believe very strongly that there is no other way to go. There is no other way. Absolutely, I can tell you that if you do not begin these things now, you will keep retrogressing. That's what
you seem to be saying is that there is no other way than to force Nigerians to do this. That's basically what you're trying to say.
No, you're looking at it from a different perspective. You're looking at it from you're looking at it minute level in terms of what is the situation of cashlessness. Cashlessness is a bit of a corporate strategy of Nigeria to move from a primitive economy. This, you cannot run a system with this. That's why people can take 2 billion and put in their homes from the pension fund. That's what I'm talking about.
It's called a primitive economy.
Yeah.
But what we mustn't also forget is that our economy is ruled more by the informal sector, by people, and mostly by people who are not very educated. If you go and check out the big business women in Balogun market, and maybe some of them are educated, maybe some of them are not, but you know, what they're used to doing is having you pay with cash. But anyway, they have mobile phones. Maybe.
But don't forget, all these women have mobile phones.
Is it a basis?
Those are the things you leverage on, Chamberlain.
And how?
Those are the things you leverage on technology for a lot of things. Listen, when we started, let me explain something.
Mr. Odibo, you have a point. Yeah, they have a mobile phone, but what about the service? The services we get from these mobile providers. How effective can it be?
In terms of
the drop calls,
the fluctuation.
Yes, that's it.
You know that.
But this is data. Don't forget.
Did you hear anything yesterday as to how? Did you hear anything yesterday as to how?
I'm sure you know sometimes it's absolutely impossible for you to log onto your iPad.
Yet it's data.
But we cannot, guys. We cannot because of the challenges that
now
we face. Refuse to move forward. We need to listen.
No, we're not refusing to move forward. Things have got to take a natural course.
But time has been given. If you let us, we will keep waiting to the last minute. In my office, it took us 2 days to the end of the time to be able to put in the structures of electronic transfer for staff.
And that is for you.
Yeah, not talk about that. People just need to get adjusted to a better way of doing things.
Why did you? I mean, you're a progressive firm. I'm just using you as an example.
Yeah.
You're a progressive-minded firm. You know how business is done internationally. In fact, you claim that the first time you went abroad, you did not go with any cash. The question would be, why would it take your firm so long to move to that system? If you know,
it's called lethargy. It's called lethargy. Lethargy is your comfort. You want to be where you are, okay, until something really pushes you, okay. It's a normal human proclivity.
How about something really motivates you?
Contrary to compelling you.
Exactly.
But guys, I think we should take this in away from the micro level and look at it from the global level. Because I watch you guys every morning, and what you're looking at, what you're saying, can this nation move to the next level? Can it move to the next level? And something like this comes, guys, we need to key into it. Listen, I tell you something. The system can accommodate the uneducated, the less privileged, and all that, but you never let them lead. Let me say that again. The system should be able to accommodate the guys who don't understand, the less privileged, the poor, but you don't let them lead. Leadership is for those who can see far, and this, I think, is a far-sighted policy. This is good.
Be that as it may, in terms of the infrastructure, which you highlighted, you hinted briefly, let's focus on that a little bit now. Other than the mobile phones, which you talked about, could you highlight perhaps a lot more supporting infrastructure to back this up?
Okay, let me put it this way. I've started by saying that cash-based economies are very primitive and people move away from it. The other thing really is that we are getting into the global stage, and terrorism is coming in, and you can see it. So money laundering is happening, local and international. The security, those are the things, tax issues, which I want to talk about maybe later, because if you go that way, a lot of people are going to run away from it. I think that this is something that time is now. A lot less what I call more unrighteous, what I call Magnus Paco calls unrighteous economies. I've moved into this level. Kenya have broken through this level. I've seen M-Pesa work in Kenya, and it's fantastic.
The same way?
Absolutely
they
fantastic. In fact, Central Bank is being very cautious. In Kenya, they allowed telcos, which is one of the things I also want to talk about. They allowed the telecommunication companies to drive it. Everything in life is always under control.
Who's driving this one?
But they are allowing the banks.
The banks are.
The banks are. But the thing is this, Solomon, and I keep saying this: when you let the banks drive this, they will use their normals. They won't. I said lethargy. They will remain in their comfort zones. They've set up businesses out of their banks. If you let the telcos own the infrastructure. They own the large number of subscribers. These are the two key things that drive e-payment, okay, or mobile payment. They have the large base, and they can manage little payments. 500 naira, 1,000 naira. The banks don't have, unless the strongly retail banks. They are not used to 1,000 naira, 2,000 naira. But
now you're talking about a moment you just talking about little payments, and truly everyone will want to move forward. Everyone will want a fantastic economy for the nation. Yes. But again, we went around yesterday, and the complaint from loads and loads of people. First, some were taken unawares that it has actually started here in Lagos. That is one. Then you should maybe you should answer and tell us why. And secondly, they were not too comfortable with the charges. Listen. And if you compare such charges with what you experience when you travel out.
No, let me put. I think I've mentioned the one. I think really why is really the lethargy. Guys, people are used to be moving with cash.
So the charges will change just from being lethargy.
Yeah. The moment people begin to know that
there's loads of people we saw yesterday were not people who are used to moving with cash. It's about the charges. It's about the awareness level, which some of them said they were never in the know as to when this will actually start.
They know they did. But I want to say this again. As long as we are asking for a more organized and focused economy, more of these are going to come. More of this kind of mind-changing policies are going to come. You cannot move to the square of international business as we are operating. This is highly primitive, sir. You cannot take 1 billion naira.
Well, you highlight.
The first I want to make, the friend of mine had $10,000 to a bank. The manager stood up and had to consult. But here, it's like $1 billion naira. It's nothing. If I move from 1 million naira.
Yeah, but nobody's saying that the country doesn't want to do that. But what people are asking is so many things are non-existent. Like infrastructure. What's the nature of our power supply today? Yeah, this POS machines run on battery.
If you keep waiting, for this infrastructure.
No, but they're supposed to work together.
I agree with you. If you keep, I started by saying about the 2020 policy of government.
Powers major.
I totally agree with you. You need to get the other ministries, departments, and agencies of government to come on. The NIPC has what they call the one-stop shop for investors. If everybody does this incident, this country will move forward. That's my point. My concern here is not the inconvenience I face trying to comply with international standards. I don't think
that inconvenience important?
Very important.
What does happen at the end of the day is that you face that inconvenience the first time, you face the inconvenience the second, possibly the third time, and you say, no, I think I've had enough of this. It's not possible.
I don't think so.
If we're not ready for it, then I think it's time it's the truth. That's basically what happens, because you need to be able to take care of the needs of people. What banks are out there to do is provide services. In fact, people were saying, it's okay for me to bring in this much money. Then when I want to collect my money, it becomes a problem. Why should it be so?
Because you are trying to grow an economy. I keep saying this. You cannot drive this economy with the standards we have now. So what the central bank is doing, and I think other agencies of government should do, is to come out with policies that will navigate navigate our economy from this primitive, and we'll keep repeating, unrighteous economy to an economy that can compete. You cannot say you want to be a hub for international business in Africa.
How can this policy help our economy?
Oh, I just mentioned to you, in international business, the cash is the least system, is the least platform to commodity to handle. You don't even, anytime you cash comes, if you meet somebody and there's cash, you can easily, a lot of things can go under the table. So what business tries to do is to reduce the presence of cash. The moment the cash is reduced, let me give an instance. If monies are paid to you by, of course, it has its own challenges. don't miss. I mean, I've had people pay wrongly into an account because somebody was not properly didn't get the numbers right. Those are the challenges. But it cannot, because people have accidents, you won't have a car. So the benefit of a cashless system, I mentioned to you, is to see how your so-called financial centers, Lagos and maybe Aba, Port Harcourt, will be able to adjust to international standards.
You know
what? If they can't, then you don't bother going to Akure or where.
You talk about primitive economy, and that when you need to move away from a primitive economy,
and righteous economy, righteous economy.
But you know the challenge this could also face. It could set the economy back a little further, because you know the percentage of the informal sector and those who even bank compared to the population of the country, the gap is huge. Now the fears out there is that, well, if you put up all of these hurdles, and some refer to it as impediments, what you do is, okay, fine, you guys keep your bank, hold your bank. I'll do my banking somewhere else. Informal banking sectors will spring up. A lot of people keep cash at home these days. So you can encourage that again by this.
I totally agree with you that there could just be some kind of backlash, and that will be because people are not properly exposed to the policy. And I think Central Bank and the banks have tried to do some kind of advertisement.
They've not done enough. The awareness level is 8%.
Yes, they may not have done enough.
8%.
If we say maybe they're not done enough, yes, but I do think that there should be a lot of concentration in getting the people to see the benefit of this kind of policy. I keep saying it. If the Nigerian, you cannot monitor money if you don't have a track of it, and if you don't have a track of it, it gets into the wrong hands. See, one of the things you need to do to track terrorism in this country is to know who, because they are funded.
We agree that.
So you need to track it.
Granted that that is important to do. But as we also say here, not that anyone is opposed or against that policy, but if you don't put certain things in place, the policy will fall flat on its face. Take, for instance, you talk about tracking all of this. Is it the police that doesn't even have they can't investigate some basic crime? Then you want to introduce digital forensics to try all of this. How is that going to happen? Are they being even carried along in this process?
If I'm the IG of police, I will move into that forensic. Yes, you have to.
But you know we'll have a challenge in that
You will
field.
need to move to the, what I call this leapfrogging. When the mobile phone came into Nigeria, today we barely don't have land phones. You know what has happened? Nigerians have moved on from the days of land phone to mobile. Mobile phones are now here. Are more like the land phones, and it's understandable. In technology, it's called leapfrogging. You don't need to go through what your grandfather went through to become a better person
and lose a lot of money. That people who would rather not leapfrog or jump frog, they will stay with their frog where they are. Because if you want to risk, because look at that, Nigeria Computer Society have complained about this, saying, listen, there's a lot of security fears which you suspect. You have Nigeria Internet Group, they've raised concerns about security, internet security about this matter. And nobody seems to be focusing on all of these.
Chamberlain, guys, we also need to be fair to an institution, and that I'm not saying Sanusi is the best guy, but this is forward-looking. Is he going to wait for power to be? When do you think power will get well in this country?
So what happens if you're doing a transaction, a major transaction, and then power goes off?
No, but guys, we've been doing business now. We have a way of.
That's what I was going to ask you. Did you hear the complaints yesterday that customers in many banks try to get out their money from ATM machines and we're not able to?
There is no doubt you're going to have hiccups. It's like the road between the Lake Express Road. The first day, the second day, it was chaos. But as time went on, the place isn't that. You will expect, but 1 second, you're going to expect overloading, you're going to expect overcrowding of the platforms, existing e-payment platforms. You will expect it on the first second, but I guarantee you, if we stay this course over time, are you telling me some other African countries are more elitist than Nigeria? That this thing works?
Can I ask a question?
Let's adjust, guys.
When you were going to the UK or to whatever country you were going to, why did you, if you had gone with cash, would there have been any problem?
Yeah, well, no, it's not that there's going to be any problem. You just put yourself under searchlight.
No, if you exceed a certain limit.
Yeah,
if you go with cash, there will be no problem unless you exceed the limit.
I was saying because I even there on a business and I needed to carry cash. So if I run there with cash, you just put yourself unnecessarily under pressure, which means, what is this for? And you come here for genuine business. So the system really is structured for order. It's ordered. So in that order, anything that seems and looks disorderly attracts attention. And that's what this will do. The moment somebody moves 500 million, 1 billion, a flag will be raised, sir. That's the point.
Do you also think,
that's the point.
Do you also think that the limits that we have is reasonable?
Every day you have 150,000 naira.
In terms
what are you doing with cash?
Come on.
What are you doing with cash?
In terms
pay with your ATM card, sir.
In terms of...
Go on the internet. You carry, everybody's carrying an iPad. All of us have an iPad.
How are you sure we have access to it?
For instance, if you were going to buy an iPad,
One, two, three, four.
iPad, so you're going to take like 5 days to get all the money out. But again, we're trying to look at the level of compliance as well as well, some kind of fairness in this whole application of this directive. Now, cashless policy on Tuesday, central bank exempts embassies, diplomatic mission and others. And according to well, the acting director, Banking and Payments System Department, Mr. Garrison Mokba, he said that the exemption was because Nigeria was signatory to several treaties. And some customers are wondering, if you exempt some other people, why us? Must we suffer to make every other person because of signatories? Why are you using
the word suffer?
Because people suffered yesterday.
That's the word they used yesterday. Those who they were interviewed.
I can't believe it. I don't want to fall into that trap of saying this is suffer for every law.
No, it's being realistic about the way the people feel out there.
There will always be an exemption, and I think the reason may just well be because of the fact that these guys are operating maybe outside of the economy and all that. But I don't want us to use the word suffer. Let us use the word adjust. Guys, adjust
this is like
e-payment, mobile payment.
This is like communication here.
Yeah.
If there isn't any feedback, communication is not complete. Because if you want to talk to someone, you're calling, he doesn't pick your calls or respond, you're worried.
I had Central Bank adjusted the numbers, the figures. And
this was just yesterday. This is the word that people out there use. So if they are not sensitive to some of these words, for instance, now, what is wrong in saying, all right, well, everyone, try use this for a period of time. We won't charge you, but after some time, we'll begin to charge. But when you start charging from day one, and people are not used to it, their awareness level, for instance, is 8% compared to their goals as done by the electronic company. I can't remember the name now. And they say it's rather low. So what do you do in that state?
Don't forget that this thing has been moved once. This thing,
several times.
The publicity for this. I'm not making any case for the banks. I'm not making any case for the system. I'm only saying that we cannot remain in the same place and we keep shouting. Someone wants to get out of the pit, and you said, "I'm comfortable in this pit."
No, but
they have been making. They moved the commencement date for this cashlessness. Sometime
they said because it wasn't well thought out. It's like shifting the goalpost in the middle of the game.
I would want to believe that this is, sir, you're just trying to align up to international best practice, and you say it was not thought out. You're not doing something that is original to Nigeria.
The level of corruption,
it's not original to us.
If the level of corruption isn't this high, would we have bothered about running a cashless society?
It's a chicken and an egg kind of situation, sir. You don't need to become this. By the way, this thing is crazy. I don't know what I guess. This corruption thing is like, this is madness. Maybe that's why I'm really let's get this done. I can't believe this is madness. You can't be. I'm sure if you wait a little bit now and get another probe, you will hear stomach turning.
Mr. Odibo, can I ask a question?
Yes,
assuming we are able to implement this and we're successful, in fact, we run a perfectly cashless economy.
Wouldn't you be happy?
I will be happy, of course. I would have been a part of the system. And then it's the year 2020, and everything in terms of cashless economy is working just fine. Yet electricity is still nothing to write home about. Infrastructure in terms of a host of other things is still nothing to write home about.
Security, fraudsters getting into your
nothing.
account.
I mean, all of those things, there's still nothing to write home about. Will we be among the 20 best economies in the world? Can cashless economy move us there all by itself?
No. I mean, I can be very clear to you to tell you the cashless economy cannot on its own, just that one item move you from point A to point B in terms of perception internationally. But it is a major and critical component of it. Now, it still brings us to the fact that there is a CBN governor, there is a director of board of National Board of Bureau of Statistics, there is a minister for finance, there are DG of NIPC, various departments and agencies of government. There's a minister for trade and industry, trade and investment. These guys should all be challenged. Every sector, everything will lock together. That's the challenge we always have about governance. The moment you get people who key into a look, and that's why I talk about government transformation agenda, whether it is president's political party or inner cabinet or the campaign people that came up with that, or even the president himself, let that word transformation really transform this nation. I'm looking forward to this nation being transformed.
Everybody
and
is.
I can see that we are behind.
Yeah, but
and it's not because we can't do it.
Yeah, but the
It
thing
is because there's no political way to get things done.
The thing is this. I mean, a lot of people, every Nigeria wants this. But what they're asking is, the authorities there, the CBN, have got to put on the thinking cap. For instance, now, talking about internet security, if someone goes maybe through what they refer to as now denial of service attack owing to vulnerability of service providers, if that occurs, which database, which central database will they latch onto to get the ID of every citizen to trace some of these things? It's non-existent. These are challenges.
And once again, guys, I still say that it doesn't mean that there will be no challenges. Up to today, if you go to the banks, one of the major platforms that drive innovation in banks is technology. If you cast your mind back, when you had a branch, you will go there and it was quite cumbersome. But when the banks leveraged on technology, business banking became a little less cumbersome. But that does not take away one of the most challenging places where banks lose a lot of money in terms of fraud internally is the IT.
So if that
they still don't
in the face,
but they still
which
do.
Confidence?
What I'm saying is that as this continues, you keep tightening the knots.
What about
isn't that why?
That's the way it works.
Let's say we should first of all forget about the charges now. Let's just comply.
Yeah.
Well, people comply. No. There are two ways to make people to comply. It is either with the carrot or a stick. The carrot. I'm serious.
They haven't tried the carrot.
When you tell people to stop at the red lights, you don't just walk away. You beat the red light in any civilized society. They're going to grab you in the next 10 minutes.
There's no carrot.
No carrots yet.
The carrot is a benefit, sir. Yesterday, I had to move money in my system, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. In a twinkling of an eye, the payments were received. That means the downtime moves from +3 to almost like +0. So somebody will give you a check and say wait for 3 days, and all the fraud is involved. There's nothing like that any longer. You move money and somebody gets it. You don't want to see those benefits.
We know all of those devices you talk about. You having your token, going to your laptop or going to your phone and do all the transfers you really can do. What about, we talked about education a little earlier. What about those who are not lettered, those who don't even have the internet facility? Now you talked about data. We don't have data all over the country. If you're a big-time cattle farmer, maybe somewhere in Gembu, in the hills of Gembu in Taraba State, how do you do all of that when you don't even have some network sometimes on your phone? These are some of the challenges we talk about.
That brings me to the second thing I want those guys to look at, maybe make a comments on. Apart from the infrastructure, the physical things that you see, there must be a total recalibration of the people, the individual, the human capacity, whether it be in banks, whether it be in government. You saw the Minister for Education almost like crying on television yesterday, and I'm glad these things are coming up, because these things have been things that have been under the water, nobody's saying them, but now they are saying them. It just shows there must be a recalibration and a re-engagement of the Nigerian people to the level where these things are possible, and there's no way you're going to educate everybody at the same time. But I can tell you that some of the institutions are not even ready in terms of human capacity. They need to just work together. All I'm saying, guys, that this need to come from various angles and bring us to, as it were, at least close to where we're going. If we can't hit the target.